Is there a path to victory? Welcome to the Voice of College Football Miami as we break down the Canes and the Tide from Week 1 in Atlanta. Please like the video, share the videos out on social media. If you enjoy the content, others will as well. Help us build the channel by sharing the videos. And, of course, subscribe right here at the Voice of College Football. We bring you 2 live Miami shows each and every week featuring Cam Underwood from State of the U and the wholesome one, Holloway. And so please lock it in right here. All right, here's our early preview of Bama Miami at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on September 4th. The Tide leads the all-time series 14-3. Of course, the final 2 of those games were played under championship implications at the Sugar Bowl in 1990 and 1993. So Bama leads the all-time series at 14-3. Most of those games played before 1979 when Miami did not have anything close to a football program of prominence. And, of course, those 2 Sugar Bowl matchups, Miami won the first one, 33-25 against Derek Thomas and company to wrap up the 1989 national championship. 3 years later, it was the Tide pulling off the shocking upset as a double-digit underdog, beating Miami 34-13 and securing a 92 national championship for Gene Stallings, Jay Barker, and company. All right, let's look ahead to this one. Let's keep in mind that Alabama is used to these kind of matchups, not just in the SEC, not just in the postseason, but early season Week 1 marquee matchups at neutral sites against formidable opponents. Nick Saban is 9-0 in these type games. They have played Clemson, Virginia Tech, Michigan, Wisconsin, West Virginia, Florida State, USC, Louisville, and Duke, and I've watched them all, and Alabama is typically dominated. They haven't had, as I scan all of those games, none of them really close. Most of them complete blowouts. Now the super offense from 2020 is gone. 3 of the top 5 Heisman Trophy finalists. Of course, the winner in Devontae Smith may be the greatest wide receiver of all time in college football. That is not an overstatement. Not talking about what he's going to do in the NFL, but as a collegiate player, possibly the greatest of all time. Jalen Waddle, maybe the fastest man on a football field last season. Gone. Mac Jones. Of course, it could be argued that he was the beneficiary of all that talent around him. Of course he was, but man, he was as accurate as any quarterback in college football last season. Najee Harris, possibly the best back in college football. So any other program, any other team, basically losing that kind of talent would be in trouble. Alabama probably is not, but maybe in Week 1 before they pull it all together on offense. Bryce Young is the starter. 5 stars, only played garbage time, threw a touchdown pass against Missouri. That's all he's got. We might be looking at similar quarterbacks on both sides of the football. De'Ara King, Bryce Young, both challenged vertically, both very quick, both want to throw first. They're not run-first quarterbacks. They're pass-first quarterbacks, but they will hurt you with their legs. Bryce Young in his first meaningful minutes in a collegiate game. This is maybe something Miami could take advantage of, but don't expect it. Don't be surprised if he throws for 304 touchdowns. He is a tremendous 5-star talent, and Nick Saban is more complimentary of his work ethic, his processing of information. So he will have Bryce Young ready to go. Believe me. They've been working on this ever since the national championship last second ran off against Ohio State last year, aiming toward a formidable opponent in Week 1. No warm-ups for Bryce Young and company. Okay, Brian Robinson is the newest of the Alabama backs. He's been around forever. He's in his 5th season, but he's been a backup, and he usually gains about 300 or 400 yards per season as the backup, getting those 6 to 8 carries per game. Now he's the man, but he's got to look over his shoulder because he's got like 3, 4 other 5 and high 4 stars behind him. So it's not going to be Brian Robinson like a Derrick Henry back in 2015 carrying it all the time. 5.3 yards per carry and 6 touchdowns. You also have Trey Sanders, who's an elite player. Unfortunately, he was injured in a car accident following the Mississippi State game. He was just gaining his stride as a freshman last season. 7 carries, 80 yards against Mississippi State. Best game of his early career. Then he gets hurt in the car accident. injured a hip. He should be ready to go. Jace McClellan, one of the top backs in the nation, just getting started as well. Roydell Williams is another backup that is super, super quick. John Mechie is the holdover from last season in terms of big-time production, 55 catches. Ohio State's loaded at wide receiver. They lose one. Jamison Williams to Alabama. Jamison Williams was a top 10 wide receiver coming out of high school. And Clemson will tell you something about him. He ripped up the Tigers pretty well in the college football playoff semifinal. The wide receiver group, aside from John Mechie, and Trayshawn Holden got some big catches down the stretch and in the playoff. Basically inexperienced. This is the most inexperienced Alabama wide receiver core we've seen in a long, long time. Consider in the last two NFL drafts, they've had 4 wide receivers not taken in the first round. And Miami fans won't be too happy seeing, of course, Ja'Cory Brooks, the number 1 wide receiver recruit in the nation. Top 25 overall prospect, suiting up from Bradenton, Florida, in Alabama Crimson. 2 returning offensive linemen, technically speaking, although you got to count Chris Owens, the center, in certain respects, as the guy that started down the stretch and in the playoff and in the championship game and relieving the injured Lance Dickerson. Alabama's offensive line loaded with talent, layers and layers of talent, but the offensive line's different than any other position. You got to have chemistry. Maybe, just maybe, Miami's got a hope here in creating some havoc, maybe some missed assignments up front from Alabama's group playing its first game together. Again, 2 returning starting offensive linemen, kind of 3 with Chris Owens. Let's go to the defense. Alabama may field its best defense since 2016. That was a stellar all-time unit. But if Miami wants to see what the formula is to rack up big yardage and points against the Tide, they've got to go to the Ole Miss and Florida games. Yes, Miami fans, you're going to have to watch some Florida football to see how you can possibly beat this Alabama defense, because Ole Miss really put them on them. 48 points. It was a tie game with about 6 minutes left. Florida ran them ragged in the second half with Kyle Trask being pinpoint accurate. But this Alabama defense is no joke. And Ole Miss and Florida had a coach/offensive coordinator as the head coach, quarterback combination that Miami to date can't match. Miami's not showing in big games or against anybody really the kind of offensive creativity, and the understanding of the matchups to put it on the Tide like Ole Miss and Florida did. And if they do in this game, it'll be a first. Henry To'o was probably the number 1 transfer portal acquisition of anybody in college football, and of course he lands with Alabama from Tennessee, possibly the best linebacker in the SEC. The linebacking position was already stacked for the Tide. Christian Harris is a tremendous player. Also, Will Anderson is a true freshman, had 7+ sacks, and those were at the end of the season. He's coming on as a great player. LeBrian Ray is back from a foot injury. Alabama won the national championship without him, and he's probably the most explosive defensive lineman they have. Jordan Battle at safety is the captain and the leader, the play caller on defense from the safety position. Malachi Moore, breakout star last year as a true freshman, again at the star position. And then Josh Jobe, the number 1 cornerback. Maybe he's susceptible. He had 11 pass breakups last year, and again, he is the number 1 cornerback for the Alabama Crimson Tide. My concerns here, De'Ara King. I wish him the best, of course, in his recovery. That seems to be ahead of schedule. I not only want him to be healthy for this game, but I want him to be prepared. So it would be great if he could be able to be fully healthy to play real football by the 1st of August. Of course, they're not going to hit him the entire month of August, but actually be out there running the offense for the entirety of August to be ready for this football game. Unfortunately for De'Ara King, he doesn't have a couple warm-up games before facing the most talented team in college football. Charleston Rambo is going to be key in this game, because what I've seen of the Miami receivers, they are not going to be the competitors and the men to take it to the Alabama secondary. where they are outfighting them for the football, making difficult catches in traffic. They drop the ball, period. Even when they're open and nobody's around them, they'll drop passes. But I'm talking about manning up for 50-50 balls, outfighting, and even outfighting the defenders before the ball arrives, getting their hands in position, getting off the jams at the line of scrimmage. Pope and Wiggins have not been able to do that consistently, anywhere close to consistently. Maybe Charleston Rambo is a key factor for Miami. In this one, I believe he is. Because if you want to get a precursor for Miami football's ability on offense to move the football and create explosive plays, watch the Clemson game from last year, in which they scored one touchdown on offense, and that was meaningless. It could be a rough ride. Donald Chaney, I wish him well as well because of the shoulder injury. He needs to be back and ready to go because he gives this offense something that Cam Harris does not. Cam Harris is a capable back, really good, but Donald Chaney could be used in this one to create some plays downfield, to break some tackles, make some explosive runs against the Tide. Rhett Lashley's going to have to come up with some unique ways to get people open and maybe use Jalen Knight in this game as well. Maybe create 3 or 4 looks for him that Alabama's never seen. The linebackers for Miami have to play lights out, have to play out of their minds because we put pass defense on the defensive line for pressure and on the secondary to cover. But what about those linebackers covering all those crossing routes? What about all those crossing routes and all those balls thrown in the flat that Alabama consistently gets to guys in space that break a tackle and make a 6-yard gain, a 16-yard gain? That happens all the time. The linebackers will have to tackle in space. They'll have to sort through traffic. They'll have to read routes. They'll have to know where guys are. They're going to give up probably 70% completion percentage in this game. But do not let those 4-yard completions become 14-yard completions. Miami, Alabama, the spread is 18.5. Of course, I will have a prediction the week of the game. Right now, it looks like a 3 to 4 touchdown game to me. Your thoughts? I'm mostly speaking, I'm sure, to Miami fans here at the Voice of College Football Miami. Leave your comments below. Share these videos out on social media. Take this video. Please share it out there on Facebook or on Twitter. Just let people know that we're here talking Miami football every day, including our live streams at 5 and 7 o'clock, typically 5 and 7 Eastern on Thursday nights for you here at the Voice of College Football. Go Canes.